welcome to this week's episode of Madeleine Interviews Artists. I am joined today with Jake Bush, who is
Hey,
actually my mixing engineer that I use for all of my songs. He is absolutely amazing. So, Jake, if you wouldn't mind just introducing yourself to everyone and telling everyone what you do.
hi guys. I am Jake. I come from Daventry, UK, in the Midlands, and I'm a mix engineer slash artist.
Wonderful. Cool. In terms of your own artistry and yourself as a musician and music maker and songwriter, what would you say your kind of main influences are, and how would you sort of describe your sound as a whole?
I'd describe my sound as pop country. I think it's kind of difficult to put yourself in the country bracket when you come from England. But pop country with a little bit of hip hop slash pop slash R&B maybe. It's a nice blend. My influences though, give me a genre and I can tell you about 10 artists from that genre alone. It kind of comes from everywhere really.
Well, maybe a good place to start is sort of talking about your new album that's coming up. Like who would you say are your main influences sound-wise for that album, if any?
I would probably say Sam Hunt, Luke Combs, Russell Dickerson, and potentially Kane Brown as well in the countryside. But it's quite poppy, so it's not traditional like country melodies and stuff. It's kind of like pop melodies infused with country. So it's a nice little blend.
You actually like fairly recently released a whole album, didn't you? And now you're working on a completely new one.
We released Warwick Street, I think about 2 years ago. And then this new one is called Holden Grove and it comes out in October this year.
Wow, that's so exciting. So, how
hmm
would you say you've kind of evolved from your last album? Like, what was the sound and vibe of your last album versus what you're trying to create this time round?
The last album was more about making songs that people would just be able to sit and listen to sort of passively and just enjoy it for the music. This one has a lot more of a message, I think. This one is sort of it's based on a previous relationship that I had and a story that I really felt like I needed to tell. Yeah, it's kind of this is more feeling based rather than just groovy. You know what I mean?
Like a lyric focused
Mm.
album? Is that a fair sort of judgment
Yeah,
of the album?
more just feeling. I wanna make people cry with this one. So
Oh,
we're going for the heartstrings here.
nice one. So, have you sort of mapped out like the emotional journey of the album?
Yeah, the journey is telling the story from it kind of starts off like a little monologue. The first song is like a monologue kind of thing that sums up the album, and then it goes from the start of the relationship to the end.
So, it's a full journey then that
It's a
you.
full journey. I'm taking everyone with me for this one.
Oh my gosh. So what has the writing process been like for that one? How do you get the idea for a song? Where does the ideas come from? Do you have like a set process that you use, or is it kind of song by song basis?
It's song by song basis. Usually, usually it starts with the song title. I'll think of a title and then sort of build a concept around it, and the song pretty much writes itself. But at that point, it's kind of once I have the idea in my head, it kind of just flows.
So you come up with the title first.
Yeah.
Wow, that's so interesting. So where does that come from?
It usually comes from like if I'm watching a movie or something and one of the actors say something interesting and I'll kind of go, that'd be a cool song title. And,
Oh,
and and but usually it would have to like intertwine with what I'm currently feeling. So if I find something and I hear something, I'm like, well, that sounds cool. That could mean this. And then it sort of goes into the songwriting process after that.
that's a really interesting process using kind of other forms of media and artistry to inform your practice.
hmm
Is that something that you'd say you do a lot? You sort of look at other pieces of artwork for inspiration?
Yeah, I mean, I get inspiration from everywhere. Your music inspires me. I'll be sitting, I'll be mixing for you, and it'll be, well, that's a cool lyric. That'll be cool. That could mean this as well, and all this sort of stuff, and then it evolves from that. So it's kind of just, I take inspiration from everything. Music's everywhere. There's music in movies, there's music in commercials, and all sorts. So I kind of just take what I can. If something comes through, it comes through. Not everything turns out to be a good song, but.
Yeah.
We sort of explore the avenue and then we kind of go, oh, this is a bit sort of beaten out now. We're going to move on to something else.
So, as someone that's been releasing music for quite a while, because you've got a huge discography now out on streaming platforms, what would you say is kind of the biggest lesson you've learned so far in your releasing and writing journey?
What is my biggest lesson? Don't put too much pressure on yourself to make it number one. Like there's only one number one. That's why it's number one. So you put in a bunch of pressure on yourself to make a song that goes viral or, becomes the biggest song of the year. It's kind of like you're already fighting an uphill battle. Just make it about the music. If you've got something you need to tell, a story you need to tell and something you need to say, just focus on saying it in the most creative and best way for you.
Yeah, that's a great message as well, like to anyone that's listening, that don't get hung up on the social media side of music. Yeah, as you said, don't put pressure on yourself to make a viral hit just because that's what the industry is telling you to do right now.
The chances are it's probably not going to go viral. That's not me being cynical. It's just there's a lot of people trying to make this happen. So if you focus on making your song as true to you as you can, that's the biggest win.
It's similar. It's something that I always carry with me when I'm sort of releasing my music. As long as I like the song, there's bound to be other people that like the
100%.
song. As where if you're making music for other people and for commercial purposes, it doesn't quite have that same love.
No,
And I
you're
feel
not connected to it the same way.
yeah, yeah. And you can, I think as a listener as well, you can tell when
Hmm.
something's been made as a bit of a cash grab.
Hmm. Absolutely.
That's a great message to not put pressure on yourself for the commercial aspect of it. As long as the song is good,
Well, I
people
mean,
resonate.
yeah, I mean, none of us really got into music for it to be what it is now. You know what I mean? We got into music because we love music.
Mm,
And the second you start thinking about numbers and money and all that sort of stuff, the love goes out the window, and then it becomes stale.
definitely. So, talk to me about your journey then into the music industry. How did you sort of get started?
So I think I was about 13, and I lived in a place called Rugby at the time, and there was a rap group called Skazi Records, and I came in contact with them, and I liked their music, and they sort of inspired me to start rapping along with another group called Cream of the Crop. So I started doing that, and then I got in with that team and all that sort of stuff, and then I just kind of went from there, and then got my own studio and started recording hip hop and grime at the time, and we're talking, 25 years ago, 15 years ago. I'm not that old. And Yeah, and then it just sort of went to. I created a band called Breaking Point when I was about 18 years old, and we started doing some pop stuff. And then actually, the switch over to country happened because I had a girlfriend who was really into country, and I'd never given country the time of day before. Like to me, the idea of country was just like, oh, it's this twangy, sort of corny. You know what I mean? And then she showed me this country song, and I just fell in love with it. And ever since then, I just went forward and was like, no, I want to do country now.
That's so lovely. So, has that been kind of your main focus, country music, for the past couple of years, with sort of other influences tied in?
Yeah, probably for the past 5 years. I had a go at making an R&B album, sorry, EP about a year ago, but it just wasn't the same excitement for it. It didn't make me feel good the same way that country does. So it was kind of like, no, we're going to stick with country.
So, because you are a mix engineer as well and you do all the production side of it, would you say that your songwriting process is quite solitary then because you kind of do everything yourself?
Yeah. Well, it's me and my assistant.
Ah,
Um,
okay.
so we've got my guy. He's also an artist, Joshua Lloyd, and he helps with the mixing stuff and he helps with the songwriting stuff. So between me and him, we're both pretty good at writing. So we tend to get it. Between the two of us, we get it over the line.
Moving on to then, I guess, the mixing side of things and you as an engineer, when you get a track
Hmm.
first and it's not your track, or and maybe it's the same process, but you get all the stems. What do you do? What is the first step that you take? Because you receive all these stems and it's like, whoa, so much going on. How do you sort of make it all manageable?
It depends on whether or not they send me a rough mix. If they send me a rough mix, the first thing that I'll do before I look at any of the stems is listen to that mix. Because, even if you're not an engineer, you can sort of get things where you want them, and then I'll come in and sort of tighten everything up. And then once I've listened to it and got an idea of it, that's when I'll load my session up on Pro Tools and I'll put everything into it and put everything in its place. And then I kind of just let the song dictate where I go, where I start, and the moves that I make. It's all feeling based, really, for me.
Is there things that you'll do at the beginning of the process? Like, will you do the panning first? Will you do sort of volume levels first? or is it really dependent on the song?
I tend to, again, it kind of depends on how it's sent. If they send me stuff that they've already sort of gain staged and put it where they want to be volume wise, I won't touch it. But if everything's sent and you've got like a kick drum that's at like 50 dB and then a piano that's at like minus 50 dB, then obviously I'll go in and do like a rough static mix, and then I will, yeah, again, I'll just let it take me where it needs to go. Usually it's either the kick drum or the vocal that I attack first, but it depends on the song.
How long would you say that process takes you, or is it again so dependent on all the different songs?
Again, yeah, it depends on the artist. I've done mixes in the space of about 15 minutes before, and then I've done mixes that have taken 2 weeks. So it really does depend on what it is. It depends on how many stems are in it, because obviously the more stuff you have, the less room you have to work with. So it really does depend on how many stems come through. With your songs, for example, I can usually get the first mix done in about 4 hours, and then obviously we'll go back and forth with the changes that you want.
I feel, I sometimes feel like so bad whenever I send you my songs because the production side of things, I can get them to a point where, I've got like the actual sounds that I want and it all recorded. But in terms of like actually progressing it onto then a sort of industry level mix
Mm,
is where I get a bit confused with. And one of the things that I really, really want to do with my page is try and get more women into music production.
absolutely.
There is such a lack of women, unfortunately, in that field. So, one of the things that I really want to do is try and make production overall just seem less scary.
Hmm.
So, as someone who's got a lot of experience in all sides of production, what would you say your biggest advice is to people that just want to get going with it?
Just get going with it.
Yeah.
No, I mean it's one of those things, like no one ever comes into any job knowing what to do if they've never done it before. There's millions and millions of videos on YouTube, some good information, some not. There's production courses and all that sort of stuff. But honestly, you'll find your way. If once you get the basics down, how to lay a drum pattern, how to lay a melody down, that's all you need. And then you just go with your taste. The problem is, like, again, like I said about the other question, don't put too much pressure on yourself to be something too early. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. I've been doing this for 15 years and I'm still learning every day. It takes time. It takes time, and it takes patience, and it takes commitment. But when you get to a point where you're happy with what you're doing, it's the best feeling in the world.
Would you say, because you've been in this industry for such a while now, are there any moments from your career that pop out to you as like real learning moments where you sort of feel like you had a real change of perspective on music and mixing?
There's been a few. The first time that I stepped foot in a proper studio was a big one, because they were doing things I was like, what the hell is this? I think the thing about this is you don't realize you're learning until you get to a point where you go, well, I've become really good at that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, like for example, tuning vocals or playing piano or something like that. You plug it in and you'll plug it in and you'll do it and you'll do it and you do it, and then at some point you just go, that's a really good melody. You know what I mean? And then suddenly you're like, wow, I didn't realize I was this good. And that's when it happens, because you don't realize the progress until you have that wow moment and you're like, wow, I didn't even realize I could do that.
Are there any sort of particular songs that you've worked on, like either your songs or songs from other people, that where you feel like you learned a lot as an engineer?
What was the first song that we did?
My boss called Ross.
Yeah, that was a big learning curve because I'd never mixed jazz before.
Oh,
So
wow.
like I had to, that was a fair few hours of researching and kind of listening to jazz music and that sort of stuff to get a feel for what it should sound like.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
and obviously you were very patient with me, sort of talking me through what you needed with me from me as well, because a lot of artists wouldn't have done that. A lot of artists would have been like, "Oh, this guy's not getting it. I'm going to move on to someone else." So I appreciated the fact that you were able to sit there and go, let's just move this up a bit and let's just do this a little bit. And it finally gave me an idea of what it was that you're looking for in the jazz market.
What's your experience been like then with working with so many different artists? Is it a lot of like lack of communication then?
Yeah. There's again, it depends on the artist. Like, it tends to be the bigger artists that are more nice, if that makes sense. It tends to be the artists who
Really?
are, yeah, I know, and I was surprised at that myself. It's the smaller artists that haven't really ever worked with an engineer that I think they see you as a little bit of a tool rather than a human being at the other end of the emails. And I mean, we've had some really, really, really rude stuff. We had a client the other day, and we spent 4 hours on a mix for him. sent it back, and he sent us all the email was just one line of what he didn't like. Didn't say anything about anything else. So yeah, you get some rude people and people that don't really know how to communicate and stuff like that. But happens the same in every job, really.
That's incredible that you just receive one line back going, I
Yeah.
don't like this.
It was literally just there's too much high end on the vocal. It sounds fried. That was email. I don't mind it too much because I'm kind of just like, well, it's all good because I get to work with people like Madeleine and Abramino and all that sort of stuff. So I'm not too bothered about that. But my assistant gets pretty worked up about it. It's quite amusing at times.
No, it's hard. It's hard as well because I think all sides of production, mixing included, are part of the creative process. And I
Hmm.
think sometimes you can get quite attached to it. And so
Hmm.
if maybe people get a bit critical or, a bit standoffish about it, it does sort of feel like maybe a personal attack. But that's so interesting that the bigger the artist, the nicer they are.
They tend to be. I mean, I haven't worked with a Chris Brown yet or an Eminem or someone like that. But people who are, when I say bigger, I mean past the point of being a beginner, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. Have a bit of a fan base, have know what they're doing, that kind of thing.
That really shocks me that people would just like, especially if you're working with someone for the first time, that you'd just be like, oh, you don't get it.
Happens a lot, but we try not to take it personally because we see it as taste. Everyone's got different tastes. I might like a heavy kick drum, you might not. You know what I mean? So we just
Yeah.
we just go by taste, and if we're not the right fit, we're not the right fit. There's plenty of other artists out there.
Yeah, because that really shocked me because the first sort of email exchange we had when you sent me back, I think the first couple of versions of My Boss Called Ross, the first email exchange we had where you were like, thank you for being nice.
Yeah,
And like we received so many arsey messages.
yeah, we do. I think because you caught me at a time where we had a lot of them. So
Oh,
I think it was kind of like I was kind of feeling a bit frustrated and a bit sort of that sort of thing. So when you came along, being breath of fresh air as you were, it was
oh.
yeah, it was nice to actually get, and it was nice to get some proper feedback as well. Because when you deliver feedback, you know exactly what you want to say, you know exactly what you want. Some artists will come back and say the vocals to this, and it'll be like, well, what the hell does this mean? So you come back with things that we can actually work with. Do you know what I mean?
So I guess like again for anyone listening who is an artist or an aspiring artist, that's a great message of like even if you don't do the mix and the mastering yourself, it's really, really good to research like the terminology and the processes and stuff so you at least have like the vocabulary to be able to communicate. And obviously like a mix engineer like yourself is not gonna, judge you or anything for not knowing like the proper terminology, but as long as you've got some sort of vocabulary to communicate your point, that's all, I guess, from your perspective, you want is just like really, really clear communication.
Yeah, I mean, the clearer the better, because I like to get mixes done with the least amount of revisions as possible,
Mm.
as I think every other engineer in the world does.
Yeah, of course.
The clearer you can be, the better it is, and the smoother the process, really.
Have you got any like funny stories of like really arsey emails that you've received of people just like not understanding the whole mix process?
Yeah, I've got one, and it was. Oh, I hope he doesn't see this because he's gonna flame me. Um,
Well, you don't say his name. It's fine.
no, he came to us and he said, "Can you put a limiter on the track to stop people listening to it past a certain volume?" And I went, that's not how limiters work. We can stop it going above zero and distorting by putting a limiter on it, but we can't. People can just turn their radio up. And this was about 5 emails back and forward trying to explain that that's not what limiters do. People, you can't control how loud someone listens to music. And it was just bizarre how long it took for him to get it.
What genre was that guy working in?
I'm pretty sure that was trap music. So the really heavy distorted 808 kind of sound stuff.
Oh, oh, I see. I kind of get that if he wanted
Mm.
it to not distort past a certain point. But yeah, I guess you can't
No.
stop someone turning their speakers up, can you?
No, I understood what he was trying to do, but it was kind of like, look, that's not in my control. I can put a limiter on it and get it to this many luffs and all that sort of stuff, but realistically, if they're going to turn their thing up, I can't control it. You know what I mean?
Oh, that's so funny. Gosh. So let's pivot back to your upcoming album then to round off this wonderful interview. Where would you say you are at the moment with the album, like process wise? Are the songs written? Are you in like recording stages?
We both. We are recorded. We just finished a song called Last Name, which has my assistant featured on it. I'll have to send it to you because I reckon you'll like that song.
Oh, wow.
Um, yeah, so we're right. We've got about 6 songs written. There's going to be 10 songs on the album. Obviously, we've got to do our one.
Yes.
Which, by the way, I will be sending to you over the next day.
Nice one.
Yeah, man. So we've got it written. We're sort of in the. I don't know if you can see my mic behind me, but we're in the recording process at the moment. We just finished one of them. We've got two songs fully done, mixed and mastered, and so we've got 8 songs left to properly finish. But I want to put the album out on the 15th of October, as that's my birthday, and I've got this thing about putting music out on my birthday. So I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, wonderful. Cool. So where can everyone find you on streaming platforms and social media and all of that?
Well, if it's for mixing, just search Jake How I Mix. If it's for my artistry, search Jacob Bush.
Amazing. Oh, well, thank you so much for joining me today.
No
And
problem.
I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. What are you up to?
Worked on the album.
On the album.
Yeah. I've got to do some changes on the mix, and then I've got to work on the album.
Yay. Cool. Oh, well, thank you so much for your time and
Mhm.
have a wonderful rest of your day. And I can't wait to hear our song that we're going to
Yeah,
do on your album. And I
it's
can't
gonna
wait
be
to hear,
great. It's
yeah.
gonna be great.
It's going to be wonderful. Yeah, I can't wait to hear the album. Everybody, please, if you're looking for a really, really nice, friendly mix engineer, I would 100% recommend Jake here. He is a delight to work with, especially as a female artist as well. It can sometimes be quite difficult working with mix engineers that are, condescending men, but Jake is a very, very patient, lovely man and is not condescending or, I am right in any way, shape, or form. He's a great artist. So yeah, thank
Thank
you
you.
very much and
Welcome.
goodbye. We'll speak
Bye.
soon.